So right now, we do know about the major impact it had on the economy already to some extent, right? So we can see some numbers. We know some of the things where it's headed. There's different experts who are saying different things. Raoul Paul, right, says there's like a major crisis coming in August. So I wanted to ask you, as somebody in the economic orientation world, what you think about, are we going to head into an inflation, a deflation, a stagflation? What do we do with all the debt burden? What are your thoughts about these things? I know these are big topics.
Yeah, these are great big topics with people even with PhDs are trying to work through. So yeah, as a guy who's just on the ground, and I can only I'll speak from my observation as a business owner and someone who's involved in really fun businesses like restaurants that have just gotten destroyed. What we know is that social distancing, right? That very word and language game, it flies right in the face of modern economic, the way we have set our systems up. Most of the things that we do, especially the things that we like to do, right? How we enjoy being human beings, social distancing just doesn't work well, right? And so as long as there's social distancing going on, you're going to have a big, hurtful, harmful impact on the economy. And so, when the virus finally, I would say not the virus, when it psychologically hit us in March, when we were like, oh my goodness, this is something big, right? The stock market crashed, the federal government and the Fed, the central bank and Congress through stimulus stepped in, and they staved off a market crash by pumping liquidity and stimulus to try to buoy the markets, right? And so it did that. And if you were just to measure that by one barometer, which is the stock market, it's done that quite successfully, in that it's almost retraced 80% of its drop, right? So but we are more than a stock market, right? And so, but if you look at jobs and unemployment, these numbers that come out, that unemployment, I think in June got a little bit better, but of course, I mean, nothing falls straight down. You fall, and when you open back up, you're going to have people being rehired back. The restaurants I'm involved with, they hired people back, but also the restaurants that hired people back can only have 50% capacity, right, or seating. Well, restaurants are marginally profitable to begin with. Your favorite eateries and water bars and restaurants, right? These guys are, they make, it's a living. It's not filthy rich, so to speak, right? They're not high margin businesses. And so if you're asking these folks to reopen with only 50% of their customers to come back, well, they still have the same amount of rent, right? Employees expect to be paid the same amount. Food. I mean, it's really hard to do. And so the reason why we haven't had such a major impact, I would say, in May and June, is because there's been liquidity in the system that the government has pushed out to America. In America, I'm speaking, that's kept this thing elevated. But at some point, and that's what the government can do, it can produce liquidity. And liquidity is money into the system, and it does that through lowering rates and pushing it through the banking system. And that money has to go somewhere. And right now, it's gone through asset price. It's raised the asset price of stocks. But what it hasn't done to those stocks is brought back customers, right? Airlines, no one's flying. No one's on cruise ships. Restaurants are down. Retailers are bankrupting. And so the ends are not meeting. And so what a lot of macroeconomic guys are saying is that unless something changes, and there needs to be a health solution to this. If something doesn't change, then the ends aren't going to meet, and you're going to have a solvency issue. And what that basically means is you're going to have solvency means there aren't enough customers to generate enough revenue to pay or meet the commercial agreements that were made pre-COVID. So before COVID, everybody was selling 10 widgets a day, and everything was priced perfectly in a system to sell 10 widgets a day. And then you have COVID come along, and now you're only selling, you went to selling like 1 widget a day during the shutdown, but now we've opened back up and you're selling 5 or 6 widgets a day. Well, there's still a gap of 4 widgets, but you have commercial agreements with people. You have employees who want to be paid, and you have leases that need to be paid. You may have borrowed money, right? And so at some point, if you don't get back to 10 widgets a day, there's going to be a whole lot of reorganization going on, either privately, like one-on-one, me coming to you and saying, Reinhard, I need you to take a pay cut. Or you going to your landlord and saying, I can't pay this rent, right? And the landlord going to his banker saying, right, I can't pay this debt note. And so there's going to, if we don't have a return back to normalcy, I have a hard time seeing how we're going to get through all this without there being a major reorganization through either privately with each other or through the bankruptcy court. And you're seeing quite a bit of that. I hate to be, I'm an optimistic person, but that's just how I see things working out right now in the economic system, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, no, that's great. And I guess so right now we already see a couple of bankruptcies happening, right? So there's these
every day, just about. Yes, it's record numbers that are happening every day. It's terrible.
Right, especially impacted our airlines, restaurants, department stores, and all these, I guess, face-to-face sales conditions or situations. So
yes.
And now the question, on the one hand, of course, we have the solvency crisis, which hits everyone, more or less, right? It's going to be an overall economic impact. But the question is maybe, are we going to see any winners? So there's going to be a lot of losers. Is there going to be any winner? For now, we see, right, Amazon has hired a lot of new people. Are there going to be winners? Do you see anybody else?
It's such a tough question. We always view things through just pure economics because that's what we are. Modern man is, if we're nothing, it's economic. Everything is seen through utilitarian, tool-driven, time is money, can we make a dollar? But the real question there, when I hear that, it's like, do we want to live in a world where Amazon and I'm not knocking Amazon. I buy a lot of things on Amazon. It's, figured out a great way to be. And through Facebook and Netflix, right? Do we want to live in a world where you don't have so overall, no, there's not a winner in that, right? What I'm thinking is broadly speaking, like, yes, those companies where you just sit on your phone and you buy something and something shows up in your mailbox. If we're all going to be forced to live inside of our cave for some time, metaphorically speaking here, yeah, but are we winning do we feel, I think for a lot of people, the answer is no. We're going to have to figure out a different, under the old paradigm, right? Yeah, are there going to be winners? We're all going to have to figure out a new way to reorient ourselves, right? We're going to have to figure out how to be better with less. And I don't mean like me, the business person. I'm talking about me, all of us, the human beings. Like, are we going to continue to get our satisfaction through consumption, right? And I think a lot of people are answering that, no, maybe not. And you see that because there's the savings rate have gone through the roof. One, that's because there's nothing to spend on or spend less to go out and spend your money on. And there's a lot of us that are like saying for the first time, like, wait, whoa, what happened here, right? I'm worried that I'm going to have a job, that my company's going to stay in business. And so people have pulled back. But I think that just like the Great Depression had a lasting impact on people and how they viewed what they're going to do with their time and what they're going to do with their money, I think that this could be another one of those major impacts to people. It is for me personally, and I'm extrapolating. I know other people who are finding other ways to go about being and doing and things that don't cost any money, being outside, right? Walking in nature, doing those types of things that, and so that's great, except it's terrible for the economy, right? Our business, the economy needs people to spend money, right? So we're in this catch-22 situation. great that people are saving more money, except they're not spending the money. So all your favorite retailer shops, like, whoever that you read every day that's going out of business, is because there's no one buying anything from their stores. So it's the creative destruction that philosophers have talked about, that religions, have celebrated, and their gods like Shiva, or, but when it comes to real life and you hear these things happening to you, right, it's not so great when it's creative destruction and you're Brooks Brothers and you're filing bankruptcy, or, the any innumerable other ones that are filing bankruptcies or reordering right now. So it all depends, but I think that, like, we're all going to have to figure out a new way of, it's like we said, it's a reevaluation of values that are going on here, right? Both economic, this virus could be simply triggering that. When things are going up and to the right, no one questions anything. The politics work, the economics work, your religions work, right? Your values work, right? When things go backwards, when things start to fall, that's when you're like, hey, I don't know if I want this political regime right here. I don't know if right, you have big social unrest movements like we're seeing, right? That zeitgeist has been going on for a few years. Religions get thrown out. If you look at other pandemics, like, they gave up on Apollo back in the Athenian Wars, and because he wasn't listening to them. Pandemics have played such a major impact, and it's been the yawner of it. Like, we're all getting excited about the wars and the revolutions and the state failures, and you read about and know about pandemics, and you're like, oh yeah, that's boring. That's a virus, and no one cares. But hey, these things seem to be a catalyst for change, and that's certainly what's. We'll find out in time how big that change is going to be. I suspect it could be pretty large, but we'll find out.